Welcome everyone to the 209 Journey podcast. I'm your host Luis, and today's episode, season 3, episode 4, I'm going to be interviewing the founder of the Modesto Art Academy, also known as MoArt, Paul Harmon. If you guys aren't familiar with the Modesto Art Academy, they've only been around for just a few years here, but they're a community-based art center that offers a wide range of classical and non-classical arts classes, all that. We're going to be talking about different classes that he offers, as well as the people that work there, and just all the different amazing things that they've already done here in the few years that the academy has been around. But before we introduce Paul here, I want to remind everyone, if you are not following the 209 Journey on social media yet, I invite you to do so. You can check it out on Facebook. Search for the 209 Journey. You can actually watch some of these videos as well on Facebook, not just on YouTube. So if you prefer Facebook, I am also uploading the videos there. Also, you can follow the page on Instagram at the 209 Journey. I'm sharing a lot of things on the stories there. So if you want to know what's going on around the 209, that's the place to go follow so you find out more through the stories, and also be posting clips of episodes on there. Y'all may have already noticed some of the ones that I posted in the past. I'll be doing more of that now that I have actually video content. So follow that page, trying to get it to 1,000 followers. Not that far. But I'm hoping to do that by the end of the year. So if you guys could give that page a follow, let's grow the page and let's get more people interacting with the posts, and also looking at the stories that the page is sharing there. But let's go ahead and introduce again the founder of MoArt, Paul Harmon, to the 209 Journey. Welcome, Paul. How's it going?
Hi, how's it going? Um, Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for being on. This is really awesome. Ever since I found out about your academy, I've been intrigued about it, and I know that you are trying to grow it. You're trying to get more people in the art community to come check it out, and so I'm really excited to have you on to talk about the story and all that you have going on there.
Great.
So let's go ahead and get started. I know that you are a native of Modesto, just like I am, and I know that you went to college to big cities. You studied art in different places there. But I want to know, what has it been like for you? First of all, growing up in Modesto, and also like leaving and then coming back. All the differences that you've seen here throughout the years.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Modesto. Went to school here. I went to Davis High. Played sports, played baseball and basketball, um, pretty competitively. Uh, and as far as Modesto, this was probably, I don't know, my years are probably going to be all jumbled up, but so I left Modesto in probably 97 or 98, something like that. I went to the junior college after high school. I was not a very good student. I struggled with school. I think I tried, but just was not. I had some learning issues, but that's sort of what I think art for me was an outlet. So that and sports, I think both of those two things are very positive things that were going on in my life. So um, on the early stages, I did a lot of construction. I did so obviously sports and baseball and stuff, but I did to make money after high school. I got into construction and started off doing labor work, digging ditches and picking up lumber. And then I got to the point where I was framing houses, doing rough framing. So these big tract homes areas around the valley, from Stockton, Weston Ranch. There was a place called, I think it's still referred to as Weston Ranch, but these big sprawling homes that in the 90s were just being, just like now, they were just being built like crazy. Turlock in Merced County, where else? Like all over Modesto, wherever there was a patch of land and there was a developer, I was framing homes. So I had quite a bit of construction experience by the time I left Modesto to go to Chicago. My thing's ringing. Here we go. I'm sure it's not. And when I went to Chicago, I worked for an antique store, and that further sort of galvanized my interest in art. The, the store that I worked at was it was really high end antiques, like $40,000-$50,000 for a chandelier. We did back history on even the McHenry Mansion. We had stuff in the McHenry Mansion. I don't know if we still do, but that's a Victorian mansard roof mansion, and we specialized in that stuff. So we actually got to do some consulting on that. This was without even knowing. It's just a small world because I didn't even go out there for that. But so decorative arts, turn of the century, late 19th century decorative arts, stuff like all that stuff I just got a really good education in that time. But as far as Modesto was concerned, not a lot of, I never really, there's the Modesto Junior College had classes. As a kid, I think would poke my head. We lived close to there, and I'd poke my head into the arts department and go to they have a tiny gallery, which they still have. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of art. It's a farming community, as you know. Initially, it was all the houses that you've seen that I framed houses for. All that sprawling areas now was before farming. Milk farmers and just dairy, things like that. And now those are houses. So that was kind of before I left Modesto, that's kind of was the scene. There wasn't a lot of art. Not that you can't be a farmer and be an artist, but it's just historically urban and like urban areas have more condensed populations, and there's more art, there's more people taking risks. There's I can get into it, and I don't want to go off the rails here because that stuff's really fascinating to me. But needless to say, there wasn't a lot of art. People are very practical in Modesto, and at that time, and so that's what I experienced. I did go to art school at Davis. I mean, I went to had art classes, took all the art classes I could take in Modesto, and well, that was before I left. That's what kind of the scene was in Modesto, the 209 area.
Wow, and a lot of it changed, right? Like you're saying, right? It was like that, and then all those like former like farmlands became homes, and then the city grew and all that, and you come back to a whole different vibe, right?
Yeah, when I came back, I went to school in Chicago, went to the Art Institute there, and then I went to San Diego. I went to San Francisco. I went to school there, and then came back, and really it was 2008, and I was going to work in construction because that's what I knew, and I had for those of you who are artists out there, it's you really have to hustle to be an artist. It's not easy to do. So my goal was to work construction and be an artist, but that kind of dried up in 2008. We hit an incredibly difficult time here, especially in the Valley. So I ended up going back to school for a teaching credential, and I went to Chapman, and then that changed to Brandman. But I just it was difficult to find, for me at that time, it was difficult to find a community of artists that I could relate to, that were serious as I was, that was as serious as I was. I don't know how I said that, but having, gone to school for 6 years, 7 years to as an artist, studying art theory, art history, all that stuff. So I came back, and I felt pretty lonely as far as finding a creative community. And so that's kind of, time flies. There's a long time from 2008 to now, but it seems like yesterday to me. but ultimately, I finally saved up enough. I worked for a long time, um, both in Tracy and yeah, mostly Tracy in their school system, and then I worked, flipped houses and worked construction and hustled and saved my money to start this program, uh, because it was hard at that time. It was hard to find a community that I could make art with and read stuff and be kind of plugged in to what they were when I was in Chicago and things that are happening on the East Coast and things like that. So ultimately, that's what I wanted to bring to Modesto is a type of arts. There was a lot of wine, sipping wine paint like places, but I wanted something to be pretty academic
Mhm.
and kind of focus on the coming up with the ideas and the creativity and being able to fail and be okay with that, because that's how you sort of learn. I don't know anybody that hasn't failed a lot that knows anything. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean it's difficult, right? To I mean, at least back then, to like actually find a community in that too. I mean, I think back those years I was in high school, and yeah, people talked about the arts. It was like, oh, you've got to go to like a big city, right? To go to the museums, to go to places like you said where people or a large group of people could actually be at taking classes in art, right? And like actually like doing hands-on artwork. That's not like in a high school art class, right? Or
yeah,
maybe at a community college art class, like you said. And that's great and all, but it's so much different when you could do it outside of those places, right? Like in a much more public space. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Artists need. I really believe that artists in general, people that are creative, and it doesn't matter if you're a painter, a sculptor, a musician, or a dancer, or a writer, or whatever. But as artists, I really feel it's important to have a community, to express your ideas to people that care. A lot of times, artists, all of the group that I just mentioned, well, it's great when you're in school, you're learning all this stuff, and you have all these people to talk to, and you're curious about stuff. But then you get out of school, it's like, okay, now we're going to go have a family, and we're going to start things, and we're going to go get our jobs, our careers, and people stop asking those cool questions, and people stop uh, kind of gathering in those creative ways. And I think that's super important. It's important for humanity. It's important on an individual basis, and it's if you don't have that support, it's really hard to stay motivated, because, like, creativity is not always easy. It's not always easy to motivate yourself. It's much easier just to watch television and not.
mhm.
Even if you are creative and want to be creative, I think it's difficult for people to uh, just be consistently creative unless at certain times you have somebody that's supporting you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I say the same thing as well. You need that good support system to thrive. I think it's very difficult for someone to self motivate themselves, like you said, to like be more creative or maintain that consistency. It's not the easy thing. I mean, if someone could do it, then great. But
Yeah,
even then, I still think that even the person who might say that still needs some sort of a motivation on a day to
yeah.
day.
I would believe anybody. I mean, I know enough people in my lifetime that I've met, people that really produce a lot of art and make things and do things. Um, and it's so much of it is, it's like a little bit of it's like that. I forget what's the quote, the 90% hard work and 10% inspiration or something like that. To be a good writer or be a good artist, you have to be willing to do the work, even when it's not fun. It's just I don't. It's funny that misconception. is that it's just always going to be easy and you're always going to be inspired. But it's just not, in my experience and the people I've talked to, the people I respect, I just haven't seen that happen. It's hard work, and you're using your brain when you're creative. Like you're using your physical body when you're, depending on what you're making, but there's physical work, and you pair that with intellectual work, and so it's exhausting.
Yeah, no, it takes a lot. But I want to talk a little bit more about, again, just the beginnings of more. I know you said that you were doing other things, you were saving up for that, but tell me that moment when you were like, you know what, I got this idea, this is what I want to do, and you started to put the plan into place, and then how you ended up selecting the location that you're at now, and how that's been like.
So yeah, I got as far as getting everything, all my ducks in a row. A lot of it was based on financial, my financial situation, being able to. So I found the place I'm at now, 500 Scenic. It's like kind of over by the cemetery, Scenic, and I found this place. There was a feller named Manuel Cardoza, and he was just, I mean, the guy was just an incredible life. He was served in Korea. He did all these things. He had a flower shop, and he had this building, and it was boarded up. And so it was at that time, it was being, they would break a window, then they would board it up, and he was really struggling with vandalism. The area was pretty difficult. And so I was originally going to come in with the Boys and Girls Club. I was going to take a small little area, and then they were going to have offices or something, because I was trying to figure out how to financially do it. And then at that time, it's under a different director, but that time the director, there was a guy that I guess they didn't want to, they were going to go somewhere else or do something else. And so I really fell in love with the building, and it was just like, people had been breaking in. And so I made a deal with the owner, and I said, well, I'll fix this place up if you let me rent it. And he said, let's do it. I mean, I just can't say nice things about him and his family. I mean, they could have gone with anybody, but I know that he said he wanted to have a legacy that was positive for this community. He was part of this community. He was an entrepreneur in this community. And so he wanted to make sure whatever it was going to go in there, it was going to be somebody that cared about the community, because this was part of his legacy. He's since passed away, and his daughter, who's awesome, I've developed a good friendship with her, and it's just, a lot of people, when as I started doing it, people would come out of the woodwork that I didn't even know existed here in the 209, and they'd be like, "What you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm making an art school, an art studio," and then it was incredible, because I didn't know these people were even existed. And yeah, I was originally interested in trying to sort of, my focus group was going to be on seniors, and because they had so many senior facilities in Modesto. And so I was going to see how that was going to be my strategy. But so many people are like, wanted to bring their kids and wanted to be involved. And so it really just sort of changed what I thought about it. And then I opened up, and then I shut right back down because of COVID. So, and then I didn't know what to do, and I've lost, it's just like when you start a business and you're not a businessman. I didn't go to school for business. I went to school for art. So I made every single mistake you could possibly make. But one thing I had going for me was our community was very supportive. I ended up doing work for the schools and Boys and Girls and Great Valley Academy and Aspire Academy. And it was like, oh, I didn't know you guys would even want to the type of art that I make, because it's not follow along step by step. It's um, I'm going to give you a bunch of options and let's figure this out. Let's go through the process of what it's like to be creative, and how did you come up with that, and why did you come up with that, and what does it have to do with you personally, and have you tried doing this? Have you thought about this? So those types of questions are different than, I think, what a lot of people think of what is art school. And when I've had conversations about this with people in our community, they started to kind of be on the same page. So yeah, I mean, it's art. Being an artist is good. It's good and bad, and I definitely care a lot about this community. So um, I've gotten a lot of support because of the authentic. You know, I'm a spaz, so it's not my business skills. It's I really want to bring art into our community. I don't know if I ran. I ran. Sorry, you just have to cut me off.
Oh no, that's all good. Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. Right? You built it. People are aware of it. They tell others, and that's how you grow any business, any organization. And it seems like that's what's going on here too, right? I mean, it's not something that we had before. Uh, a lot of cities in the 209 don't really have something. I mean, they're slowly building up to that point. I know I interviewed Elazar from Hatch Workshop over in Stockton as well, so they have that going on there. I think other cities are just kind of learning from that and being like, you know what? I want to start my own thing as well. So it's like you're serving as an inspiration to like people in other areas, and then people find out about that, and then your group grows, right? And then eventually you
Yeah,
might have more people join in, more partners, and then you don't have to carry the burden financially of everything, right? Because you have more people
yeah,
that are willing to step in and help, with that, knowing all the benefits, just like the landlord there, right? I mean, you said you want to leave a legacy, and that's exactly what he's done here with what you have going on, what you continue to do there, and it helps revitalize, especially that area of Modesto, right? That is in need of more things like that can help bring more people there and show people that hey, this area could be a lot better, right, than maybe it was in the past.
definitely. And I would like to add to what you're saying. People have really supported me. I mean, I've met a lot of friends, and I always tell people I'm a spaz. When you meet me, I'm like, where did I put that or this or that? But um, if I always think that if people in our community want places like this or VMI or VMI or wherever these places are, um, it's hard to get these things going. If you look around the country, there's not very many of them, because artists are not business people. Uh, you can have places that are dialed in and have all of the stuff, the business savvy, but then the product is, um, I think the product has the potential to be sort of, uh, it doesn't have the soul that these smaller places that you refer to have. Um, and figuring out. So I really appreciate you having this podcast, because it does, um, you know, you're kind of telling people like, okay, so what kind of community do we want in Modesto, and what do we want to support? Because without the community, there's not a business here that's gonna, especially a small business, that's gonna be able to survive. We need people to, and then in turn, people have to give of themselves, like business owners like myself. Um, you definitely have to have a passion for the community. I mean, or you wouldn't make it 2 days. It's
Hmm.
too hard.
Yeah, especially small business, like you mentioned. I mean, we saw it in the pandemic, right? There's some that unfortunately went down, but then the ones that still stuck around, the ones that still keep going to this day, is because the community was there, right? The community was rallying
Oh,
around
yeah.
them and figuring out ways to still purchase, whether it was food or services, in a safe way, right? But
Yeah,
just finding out how can we support and being there for them, really.
totally, totally. We've had boys and girls have been just incredible. They're such an incredible program anyway. They've been very supportive of me. We've worked together quite a bit on projects. We have a project we just finished up with the Heartland community, or the Heartland Creative Corps. So we were able to build a big, huge mural, like an illuminated mural out of water bottles, together, working together. So they've been for me, been enormously supportive. People like Aspire and Modesto City Schools, their expanded learning program. It used to be ACES. I think it's expanded learning now. I've met some pretty good friends in that program that have been very helpful. Stanislaus County, Amy Boltana, oh my gosh, Mike Ruley, they've been so helpful to me because they want it. They want people to be creative. That's going to build the community in a positive way. So, I mean, just like without those people, I tell you, would be here, truly.
Oh yeah, you always have to have that support, and I'm glad that they've been really supportive because they see the value, right? I mean, they see that the more you let creatives have their own space and be able to collaborate with other creatives as well, you just grow that a
Yeah.
lot, right? You get past that whole thing where in the past, maybe 15, 20 years ago here, if you wanted to get into a creative field, your parents would probably tell you like, hey, probably don't think too much of that, right? Or like there's not that many opportunities, or you won't really do much with that. Focus more on, X, Y, and Z, right? That'll actually get you a job and all that. So
Yeah.
glad that they can do that. So that way, like I always say, right, we keep people local. I know people might have to venture out, right? You might go out somewhere else, but at least you get your experience here locally, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
actually have to go far and struggle and deal with high rent costs and all that. I mean, there's so much more,
Yeah.
right, that you got to deal with, right, to go out there when you could just start off here and jump to somewhere else if you need to go somewhere else for whatever it is that you're trying to do in the field.
Yeah. And I found that there's support there. You know, there is people uh, in the community that feel they're alone in terms of being creative, and also I think I did um, I went to I don't want to call it a lecture, but I went to some of the classrooms in Modesto City schools, and talked about what jobs are available for artists, and what is the path to be able to do it in a realistic way. And so I did some research, and there's lots and lots of different types of things you can do as a creative person, everywhere, everything from set design to graphics design, advertisement, all of these things. If they can get past the fact that drawing is not the determinant of whether or not you're creative or not, because people think that. It's very little to do with whether you're creative or not. If you can get past that, it opens up a world for kids that say, oh, there is a path there for you if you want to be creative. I think that's, as adults, we don't tell kids that enough. As adults, we say, I can't draw a stick figure. This drives me nuts. And I love some of the people that say it. I love to pieces, but that does not move the ball forward. It doesn't matter if you can just draw a stick figure. That's not the creative part of the brains that I'm interested in, or I think is the most productive for a society.
Yeah,
But it's cool
no,
to
yeah.
talk to.
Yeah, it's great that you did that too, yeah, because like I said, yeah, I mean that's the belief I think that used to be. I mean, it might still linger around. I mean, we're still making progress, right, and showing people like, hey, like there's plenty of career opportunities for creatives, and even here in the valley too. I mean, right, there's like you said, there's different aspects of creativity that people don't always think about that are actually quite useful, that actually have jobs here in the area, and so it's good for newer generations to realize that, like, hey, if you feel like you're a creative, get into a creative field, right? Like don't try and get yourself into another field that might not be in a creative aspect because you might not do as great and you might dread going to work, right? Because you're a
Yeah.
creative, and creatives naturally, geared towards that side, not maybe towards other type of work that might not be their thing. So I'm glad that, again, you were able to tell all the generations here, like, hey, go, you can find a job, and certainly, keep studying more of it too, right? Because I think, again, you go to college and some kids might feel like, I want to do art, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to find a job in that, right? When it's like, you should still go down that path if you feel like you're creative and that's something that you really enjoy, because there's nothing better than, you know, uh, not feeling like you're working at your job because you enjoy it so much, right? I mean, that's the
Yeah,
dream for anyone.
definitely. Yeah. Um, and being creative is more important now, I think, because of things like AI and all of these different things. Human beings have to, I think, the way they'll adapt to the future, which they always have, uh, is by solving problems that aren't even around. So it's the process of being creative is so much. I would say argue it's more important than the thing you're creating. It's the process, and that can be involved. Uh, a lot of these newer companies. I say newer because it's like, I don't know, last 20 years,
Mhm.
um, the Apples and the Facebooks and all of these, they are so creative and innovative. Um, yes, there's programmers, but there's just so many conversations in those organizations, and then they come up with these ideas, and then they break them down into actionable things, and then they have the programmers. But all that other stuff is people being able to think outside the box and be supported in a way that they can be creative and come up with solutions. So it's the process, and I think that's why we're here. Is we emphasize the process, um, but it could just as easily be music, or it could just as easily be um, it's whatever um, gets you out of something rote,
Mhm.
and curiosity is the cornerstone of creativity. Like, I wonder this or that. So, which is kind of like, I think that what you're doing right now, you're you're kind of like creating a sense of curiosity about
Mhm.
our community that people don't know about. It might be a little bit more obscure, which is amazing that you're doing this. Like, my hat's off. Because it's right in line with the way I think about how um, growth and like being productive and happy and healthy, those sort of things. It's right in line with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I started this, right? Is to help connect communities, and uh, in the few years, actually, I'm about to actually turn 3 years too, as of this recording, of actually the first ever like trailer that I published on this podcast too, and I've gotten a lot of messages from people and all that, and it's been amazing.
Yeah.
So it's been something really rewarding, and it's something that I keep doing, and I will continue to do as long as I'm able to speak. Is what I what I always tell people too. This something that I want to give everyone a platform, be able to share what they're doing, especially if it's something positive, right, for the community, so people find out more about it and they can go and support. I mean, we keep talking about that over and over again, right? But again, community supporting each other, and that's how we all grow and are able to, again, do different things for the community. In your case, right, bring more creatives to the space, and also people maybe who were creative at one point. Maybe they're adults now. I know we're gonna get to this right now, but like maybe they're like, you know what, I'm an adult. I used to feel like I was a creative. My adult life's gone quite busy, but you know what, I kind of want to get back to that, or maybe learning more about this or that, about maybe drawing too. I mean, I could certainly relates that to. I used to enjoy drawing, and I just never really like pursued more of that. But it's like, hey, you always want to learn either something new or maybe just further your skills that you had at some point. And so it's nice to be able to have that space where you can do that. So speaking of that, now we can actually transition over to the classes that you offer there at MoArt. I know you have classes for pretty much anyone, right, who wants to learn or who wants to, further on develop their skills and different things. So can you talk more about the classes that you guys offer and kind of what are some of the days for the classes and all that?
Yeah, so the classes that we have currently, just as a general philosophy, our classes are mostly organic in that people come, I provide materials, they come for for example, we have a kids class that's from 4 to 6, and they will come and I will set them up with any number of art materials, and they sort of like have a run of the place. And um, originally it's called art drawing exquisite. It's 2 hours, and it was based off of this group of people called Exquisite Court, which I won't get into, but they did these letters. They wrote each other letters, and they would do drawings on them. And so it started off like that. But then kids were like, well, what's that over there? And I thought, well, that's pretty awesome. They were curious about something. So I don't want to shut them down. I'm like, okay, let's go over there and see what this does. So it's transformed. Even then, I'm still, just like growing and learning and figuring this out. But so that's the long way of saying that most of our classes are like that. Their kids might be working on all different things. And they have questions or they interact with each other creatively. There's discussion. So that's kind of the premise of the actual classes themselves. I have an adult class. It's called Painting Development, and it's very similar. And adults show up in Saturday mornings from 1 to 4, and they have, they learn to oil paint if they want, or they learn to, and if they've never done something, I set them up with everything they need, and I start them on a project. If they're there and they're advanced, they've been doing it for a while, then I'm like, have a run of the place, get to know everybody, have discussions. We have lots of, we play different things on the television. We have a big screen television. We listen to like art history things. We listen to relevant music and jazz, and there's people that come in that actually play music. Like we'll have like live sessions. So it's real organic, but then somebody will say, oh, well, I don't know why this color's not doing what I want it to do. And I'll say, okay, well, let's talk about that. So I meet people where they are in their journey, not starting off as like this, and this, and this are the rules. And that's just our sort of scaffolding. We are going to have classes. We are going to start doing ceramics. So it'll be like experimental ceramics. We have a kiln, and people will learn how to construct and the basics, how to connect things and how to work with it, make sure that it's not going to blow up in the kiln, that kind of stuff. But beyond that, I'm going to try to challenge people to do something they may not have done otherwise. Like ceramics has the potential, not always because there's some real pioneers, has the potential to be pretty safe in terms of not making mistakes. But the classes, like once again, my ceramics class is going to be like, well, what can you do with that? Let's go beyond what just something simple. And so how you can make that ceramics project your own. And so we're going to start doing that probably towards the middle to the end. We'll start classes middle to the end of next month. And what else do we have? We have for kids, right now I'm going into schools and I let them have their, I'm picking these big, huge bins of just garbage, like recycled garbage. But they'll have cool stuff in it, like stuff that I find that I think is nifty. And the kids will rifle through it and they'll find different things. And they're like, can I use this? Is this okay? I'm like, yes, use it. Can I use? Yes, use it. How do you want to use it? What do you want to make with it? Let's talk about how to make those connections, like cold connections, and how are we going to use string and use your engineering skills. And so we have both that in the schools right now. It's like I call it like a maker space, but it's not really, but I kind of call it that. And then I have, I'll be doing that on Thursdays. I'll have the drawing class on Tuesday after school, and then Thursdays after school will be for kids that are interested in more engineering kind of stuff using found objects. And so it's like pretty crazy. We have a camp this summer in July, the last couple weeks in July, that where I set up these huge pieces of paper, and kids can paint expressively in whichever way they want. I give them the paint. We talk about expression, and we use words like intuition and process. And kids, we have spray bottles that make it look like spray paint. We have markers. We have all sorts of stuff. They're not limited to the paint, but it gets pretty. I seal everything off in this big studio that I have, and the kids just go to town, and there's just no judging. There's just, you do it, you have fun. And I have kids stuff that people have framed it in their house, like clients that have, that are wealthy, that you go into their houses and they have everything's beautiful, and then they have their kids' art that's framed. It's just like breathtaking. So, and then we have classes that are trying to get going. I have a couple. I have one right now that's being offered. That's going to be offered in Spanish. How to teach kids Spanish as an enrichment program, but we're using art to do it. So they're making art, and then we're integrating language and culture to sort of get, especially in this community with the such a strong Hispanic community. We do have kids that don't speak Spanish, but it's to just show the rich culture there that we have. It's so available in our county. It's kind of amazing. So there's that, and then we have a couple like still life, meaning that we set stuff out on tables and kids will paint it as a process of teaching kids how to see objects in space, which is difficult, like foreshortening and complicated ideas like that, and how to actually make a palette and get more technical mixing colors, and why do you want to add red to your green in order to get a color, and just kind of questions that to be honest with you, a lot of answers can be answered like that type of stuff on YouTube. So, but yeah, so, and there's a few more. I'm always moving classes around, figuring out what works, what kids want, what adults want. Figuring out with certain kids what we have that have disabilities, how can I serve them better, and use what others might see as a weakness as a strength for them. All of that stuff. So, and then there's more than stuff, grants I'm trying to get for the different schools. So it's a lot. So, but I would say the common denominator that ties all my curriculum together has to do with creativity, learning to sort of fail and learn. I have a saying that's that growth can only occur at the margins of one's ability, meaning that you have to be able to be willing to go past where your comfort level is if you're going to get better at something. And that could be with anything. And then I take that to heart here. Like, what can you do? I don't want to ruin it. It's okay to ruin it. If you're growing, you're going to make something better and more profound if you're willing to go further with it. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's a great like just philosophy to live by. Like you said, just with anything in life, and I mean, if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning, right? And I think even the people who feel like they're perfect, they made a mistake at some point, right? Because otherwise, it's just I don't
yeah, we
think you're
probably learn to
you could
walk.
be anywhere near. Yeah,
You know,
right. Yeah, yeah. Right. That's like learning how to walk. Everyone tripped at some point. um, but I think it's really awesome, just all the variety of different classes that you offer, and like I said earlier, just the fact that anyone can step into the academy and be able to take a class. It doesn't matter how old you are. You know that there's
yeah.
a space for
And there's
you.
other
Yeah.
schools. There's other schools. There's Dragonfly downtown. There's I think Nislin's going to be. They're moving, but they're still around. There's Valley Music Institute downtown, which is amazing. School of Rock. Um, there is I think that's the Black Sheep. There's Slater. There's a lot of different people that are. And if I can't do it, or if my sort of organic thing is not for you, then there's other places. But to be involved in art for all of us is super important no matter where you go.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, and whatever that might be. I mean, I like that. Like you mentioned with the adults, like you have them talk to each other, right? They have the ability to network, right? I mean, some
Uh-huh.
people
Yeah,
don't have like a big support system, and to be able to meet other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing there, maybe also passionate about the arts. It's just got to be great, right, for you to be able to create that community and get people more of those friendships that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise have had, right? And it's
yeah,
just if you enjoy something and you're able to be in a space where others enjoy it, you feel better, right, in general about just anything
yeah.
in life.
And it's actually financially more rewarding for the city because if you have more art and you have, it becomes a better place to come and visit. Then they're gonna people are gonna bring their money. I mean, this is just a pragmatic sort of conservative way to look at it. If you have no variety in art and you have no variety in music and you don't have the things that we have here. So I'm not saying that we don't. Um, but if you don't have those things, then it has to be a destination. And people have to say that Modesto is a fun place and there's lots of good experiences. And then they bring their money, and then that helps all of us here in this community. It helps from the schools um, to the restaurants to so it's important not just from a I don't know like a internal metaphysical place or I can't think of the word, but it's financially practical.
Oh yeah, I go back to what I feel like I've been saying in every episode. So sorry everyone if I'm sounding like a broken record player, but it's the domino effect that I keep saying, right? Like when you
Totally.
bring people to a city to whatever it is that they're doing, right? Whether it's a museum, whether it's for classes at the academy, like they're gonna be hungry, right? So they're gonna go to a restaurant that's local, more than likely, right? Get some food there. They might even go and do something else locally, right? Because they're already in the town. So it just, like you said, just everyone benefits from that too. And so when you get to have all these different things, and your city could be a place where people can go to for anything going on, it just everyone benefits from it too, because then you have other people there, and partnerships as well, right? You might even do a partnership with a local restaurant, or a collaboration with
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
restaurant, or a brewery, right, or whatever that might be, right? I mean, the arts,
Mhm.
that's the great thing about the arts, right? It's like you can collaborate with like pretty much like whatever
Yeah.
business organization out there, because you're going to need art in some sort of way for your whatever business or organization.
Yeah. 100%. I like that what you said about collaboration and that networking is yeah.
So, as far as like future plans go for more academy, like I'm thinking a few years down the road, what are like some things that you want to see happen there, and or that are kind of in your dream list, right? Of like this is where I see the academy in like the next 10 years.
I would like to be. I'd like to be more not doing everything like logistics and all the stuff that I do because I'm not very good at it. But I'd like to get to a place where I have a number of employees that where it runs smoother, and we can offer our classes more of them, and do things like that. And I would like, as a goal, I'd like to be able to put more work in our community, through grants. I've gotten grants and stuff before, and have really cool pieces of art around our town. That's a personal goal. Uh, Collaborating with other artists, stuff like that. Yeah, I think as far as Modesto Art Academy is concerned, is to get it to be a more well-oiled machine where I don't have to work the insane hours, and I can. Uh, yeah, I think that's an important goal when you start. As you know, when you start a business, you're either working two jobs, or it's a lot of work. So I would like to be able to pass those things along to other artists that want to teach. It encourages them. Um, and for myself personally, have more works of art out where people can see them and are inspired by them. Because I'm also a working artist. I'm um, not just a art school guy. Um, I make art and I try to get grants and I have art out in the world. And so, yeah, does that does that answer your question? I don't know. I feel very talky right now. You really have a good.
Oh no, that's really great. No, no, yeah, that answers that too. I mean, I know that you're in your early years, right? But like the more support that the academy gets, the more people that register for the classes and that have their work art like displayed at different places. The more people that are going to be going there, and that we're going to be seeing more art that originated there from the academy. Just like I know you have behind you a few pieces for everyone who's watching the video too. Are those your art pieces, or are those like
Well,
student art?
they are half mine. I do a
Oh,
lot. So I have a few clients that will come and we make art together. So we work, like we'll just sit in a chair. Each of us will sit in a chair and we'll just look at a piece of paper, and then one will start, and then I add something, and then they will add something. And these particular two is a guy named Lamont Harrell, who's been around. Well, he's also a musician and amongst many things. But yeah, we just work collaboratively. I like working collaboratively, like you said. It's a really important. So I don't know if we're still on air
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I just thought I
or.
was switching. I was switching the views
Yeah.
there to get a better view of
So
the paintings there.
I don't know if you can see it better, but at any rate, yeah. So that's where those came from. I have my computer hooked up. I don't have a video thing, but um, if anybody's interested to see the art space, it's not a gallery per se. We do shows and stuff occasionally, but mostly it's messy. We make art. We experiment with stuff. There's paint. There's plaster. There's metal. There's wood. We make stuff. So it's a working studio, um, and so. And I'm also a spaz, so I I've always tried to be organized. But yeah, it's if anybody's interested in coming and checking out what it's like on a regular basis, they're always more than welcome to drop by. If they see my red truck there, they know I'm another car or something. But they're always more than welcome. People come by randomly, and I love them to look around and just see. Whether I'm working in a class or doing something, they can still walk around, check it out. Because I think from the front of the building, I've done a lot of work to it, but it still looks a little, I don't know, it's a little bit kind of, I don't want to say scary, but it's like, it's not quite the paint. Some of it's not completely painted yet. And there's certain elements to it are like, I don't know, like it. But then once you get inside, you're like, oh my gosh, I see what you're saying.
Mm.
So, uh,
Well, you're making a work in progress too. I mean, I remember when I first met you, and just how it looked like, and so now I'm like, hey, it's getting there. It's been a
yeah.
major progress too, and outside of it, and yeah, I mean, I think that if you're going to an art space, if it's not messy, then there's something going on there too. It's not as maybe amazing, I think, right? Just
Yeah.
I feel like it's got to be that way, right? Because you have so many different like materials and
Yeah.
all that it's got to be messy. I think it's the people who can keep it clean. I don't know how you can keep any art space clean.
Yeah, and it's people are curious about something, then I get really excited, so I start pulling out everything. I'm like, oh well, you like that, and then try this or that. What if we did this? What if we did that? Have you ever seen this tool before? Let's try it. So it's that kind of situation. So yeah, but there's a lot of different types of art, and it's just I happen to be of the messy variety.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I won't take up any more of your time, but this has been really great. I hope more people can find out about the academy, register for classes. We put the website up here on the screen, moreartacademy.org. They want to go on there, can register for them, learn more about you, learn more about other people that are also involved there in the academy, and just be able to do all kinds of art, right? It doesn't matter again how old you are. You have a space there, and if you're in the art community, if you're not yet, but you want to be in the art community and support, it'd be really amazing. No matter where you're from, it'll help us all grow and have more art academies, not only in Modesto, but like I said, other places. They might be hearing this episode. They might hear about more about Hatch Workshop, and we'll get other artists in other places maybe being like, hey, we should also have something here, or let's like get a group together and maybe like invest in this together, right? Because that's how you can start
Yeah,
things, and maybe it's a little
absolutely.
more financially viable that way too, and you can kind of share that. But that's what we're here for, is to help others find out about things and maybe also get inspired to start their own business or whatever it is that they want to start. So
Totally.
thanks
I
again
mean,
for being on.
yeah, I have to give a shout out to my interns, Maggie and Angelica. And also, I have somebody that works with me occasionally, Sophia, and there's another guy named James. And they're just artists. They're awesome, and they come and they help me out. So I just appreciate them to death. I really do. They're just like my light. So I just had to put that on the end there. I don't know if this is rolling, but it's important to me. They're important to me.
Oh yeah, no. This is still for sure, for sure there too, and I think again it's really awesome when you have people that can support what you're doing, and it just helps you grow. I mean, just with me with the podcast, it's the same way, right? You got to have those occasional messages from people like praising what you're doing, and then it drives you, right? As with
Yeah,
anything in life, just
absolutely.
having that. So, but yeah, thank you so much for being on, and hopefully someday we can record a class going on or something, or
Yeah, heck
someone
yeah.
doing like art there, like painting something, drawing something. I enjoy watching those videos. I know there's people out there that like watching those live, art videos and all that. So hopefully we can do something
I'd love to
someday.
do that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, uh, also thank you to everyone for watching our episode here tonight. If you're watching it on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. That would be awesome. You find out when the new videos get posted. Again, videos also get posted on Facebook. So if you're following the Facebook page, you can also watch them there. But if you're just listening to the audio only version of this podcast, go ahead and hit follow, subscribe, or whatever it is that they call it on your favorite podcast app. That would be much appreciated. You can leave a comment, leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast. That would also help us out a lot. If it's just a starter rating, that's fine. I know Spotify and Apple let you do that. I think a few others might also, but Spotify and Apple are some of the major ones there. That would be, again, greatly appreciated too. But with that being said, y'all, again, have a good night, good morning, whenever you're listening to this episode. And you'll hear me again next week here on the 209 Journey podcast.
Thank you, Luis. You're awesome, man.
Thank you.